Hard Eyes is a 2025 American film directed by Josh Ruben and stars Olivia Holt, Mason Gooding, Gigi Zimbardo, Michaela Watkins, Devon Sawa, and Jordana Brewster. The plot follows a Valentine's Day themed mass killer who comes out every Valentine's Day to murder couples. Pretty simple, really. That's really the theme here, a Valentine's Day slasher. I mean, we already had My Bloody Valentine, but whatever. I'm cool with it. Now, this is another one of those movies that I've been still thinking about like a week after seeing it, which is a really cool thing, I gotta say, but in kind of a different way, though, than some others. And that's why I appreciate this film as much as I do. Because on its face, this is a very generic slasher film. And I was okay with that. That's what I was expecting to see walking in. And I was okay with that even, while I was watching. But what ultimately is cool about Hard Eyes is how, at least I think, it's intentionally generic with some very cool original touches. Again, at its core, it's a generic slasher / rom-com, romantic comedy. And I'll admit right now, I'm confused on what exactly is intentional and what is not. Like, I do think a lot of it is intentionally generic. That's my takeaway, at least. I really do think that. And because of that, I think it's kind of charming. The rom-com aspects, I have to admit, I really didn't expect, but it being a Valentine's Day, themed movie makes it, really, really cool. And I also find it interesting that I feel like it could have been either a pure slasher or a pure rom-com, and it probably would have worked either way. So a slasher, obviously, is what I expected going off the trailers that I saw. I didn't really expect the rom-com elements, but when I got to that, I certainly didn't expect it to work, because when you start to see those elements kind of come into play, my first thought was, oh god, here we go. These elements are going to ruin the movie, but they don't. So first you've got Allie, she's had a rough time with relationships lately. She's jaded, as so many of us are, and she meets stereotypically handsome and charming dude named Jay. At first, it was really hard for me to take Jay serious, but in my opinion, he does become pretty likable at one point, and I do believe that this is by design, but again, I'm really not 100% sure. Jay comes across, at first as a total fuckboy, but he kind of does win you over, and I thought that was clever. And speaking of clever writing, you wouldn't have a rom-com without comedy. And this has some very funny moments, especially via Allie's boss, played by Michaela Watkins. I do like how the setting takes place in Seattle, Washington, being a fellow Pacific Northwester myself. But of course, the fucking thing was filmed in New Zealand, so we just have to pretend. And of course, I have to mention the Hard Eyes killer, which you have seen, I assume, if you've seen any of the trailers. They show him front and center. I like the look, with the mask and with the heart-shaped eyes, and for some reason I got almost Ghostface vibes, which I think was intentional for the most part. So I think this film does take some inspiration from Scream, or the Scream franchise in general, in addition to My Bloody Valentine. I mean, I think those are obvious influences. If there's anything obscure they were going for, I probably missed it. But now I have to address the kills, right? This is a slasher film after all. Again, back to the trailer, you saw the van murder, which clearly they were proud of, and rightfully so. It's a cool kill, it's what I like to call a centerpiece kill in the movie, and they shouldn't have shown it in the trailer. That they just shouldn't have. But whatever, it's a cool kill, it's a cool scene. But really, a lot of the kills in this movie were really basic. Again, giving it, in my opinion, an intentionally generic feel. But Hard Eyes has just enough twists and turns to make it something else entirely. Basically, I'd never call it a brilliant film, but it is smart. And everything here, in my opinion, works almost surprisingly well. So I'm giving Hard Eyes a 7 out of 10. The way the script messes with you is very cool. Every time it convinces you that it's a generic watch, it throws you a little curveball. It's funny, it's fun, the violence is always a blast, and never really overused. I'd recommend it to all fans of Scream, My Bloody Valentine, and all slashers in general. Cheers, guys, and I'll see you at the multiplex.